I'm with Liam Suipeil. This is the bookend of Ireland's ancient East, and it doesn't get any more ancient than here, Liam, does it?
That's very true. It dates back to Christian times and even pre-Christian times. We see that with the Cranog down on the beach, and then here on the earliest monastic settlement in Ireland and the advent of Christianity in this region through St. Declan. Ardmore as a monastic settlement is seriously, to my mind, underestimated. You know, when somebody talks of monastic settlement, they say, "Oh, Clonmacnoise, Ireland." I think Ardmore is more important from the point of view that it was there prior at the arrival of Christianity, shall we say, and to this day maintains a presence. But also, I think the reason for it is because I'd say the place was plundered many more times than any of the other monasteries because of its exposure to the traffic at the time. You know?
Liam, you guys have been in tourism for a long time. I think pilgrims were probably the earliest tourists.
That's very true. Here at Ardmore and the early monastic settlement, people chose this spot. Not so easy to establish why they did this spot, because we do not have a very deep harbour. It's tidal. However, the area is quiet, peaceful and accessible. And maybe that's why people flocked to Ardmore in early Christian times. But the historians tell us that there was a community based here anyway. But if you look at County Waterford in general, it's a very small county, but everything is very accessible. You're within easy reach of mountains, beaches, streams, woodland areas. So maybe that, because of the compactness of the area, lended itself towards people on this spot. And when Declan arrived here with Alva, Ivor and Eoghan, Declan made this his home, as it were. He wanted this place of his resurrection. He established what the life of Declan refers to as a city in this area around the monastic settlement. That city grew in latter years, as many of the ecclesiastics did in those days. He retired from his city. The founder went away from his comfort zone, if you like, and went out to where we know now as Eoghan or St. Declan's Well in that area. And he spent the rest of his life as a hermit in solitude out in that spot. To this day it's known as St. Declan's Well, and we commemorate the saint on the 24th of July on that spot.
Quite a bit of activity on Ram's Head, old ruins up there.
Again, as you progress out through the head, the views over the water and the surrounding area, you can see practically down to Wexford and up to Cork on a clear day. As you go out to Ram's Head, or Ceann an Ramara in Irish, you come across, there's a little hut type building that dates back to the Second World War, when a lookout was placed there to watch the naval traffic out in the bay. And then behind you, you have an old lookout tower. These towers were built around 1800 because smuggling was rife along the coast here, and the authorities at the time felt that the only way to properly monitor or to investigate what was happening was to have these places set along the coastline so that they could put a stop to the activity that was causing major problems for merchants in Youghal and surrounding areas.
Father O'Donnell's Well, it's not really as old as it looks.
Not really. They say about 100 years old. There was a Father O'Donnell and an O'Rahilly from Limerick, a poet. They say built that folly there because it is of no particular importance other than it's a shade from the elements. It's built over a small stream, and for anybody that would wish to get in touch with self, or to spend an hour or two there with the rhythm of the water and the sounds around, it is a place that one can easily discover self. Owl dying, a deep hole, literally a deep hole.
There is poetry in the place names around here. It's a particular interest of yours.
The place names are hugely important because in Ireland I think we have over 60,000 place names, and the place names have Gaeilge, the Irish language, English, they have history, geography, folklore, genealogy, lies. It's all encapsulated, and no matter where you go in Ireland, with a bit of research and of course an understanding of the Irish language, you can very easily come to a history that dates back into antiquity from these place names. In 1840 or so, there was 15,000 people counted coming through these gates to what is known today as St. Declan's Well on this spot. I want you to close your eyes and to see this place through your ears. Just visualise what you can hear immediately here, and then search for the sounds farther out. 7th century ish. One of the earliest buildings, we didn't start building in real stone until the 8th and 9th century ish. And you made the sign of the cross 3 times on the stone and kissed it as part of the tradition. The one thing that's constant in it is belief. 40 years ago, there would have been 12 or 14 boats with 3 or 4 men in each of them fishing dinners. The Round Tower, it's the finest example of Round Tower in Ireland, we in Ardmore believe. The stone was quarried from the hills over here and brought over here. Usually they say 4 stone masons worked for a year or 2 building it, 2 on the ground cutting the stone, because it's a serious job of engineering, because it's like cutting a round birthday cake. You've got to cut it in section in and section in, but you've also got to ensure that it becomes conical and not like my DIY work that they actually meet at the top, you understand. And look at the building, look at the stone. Now this is before a DeWalt power tools like and cordless drills and things like that. Look at the precision that had the stone inserted here, and look at the base. And it stood 800 years. You can see the architecture, Gothic architecture here. Here, this side, on the 12th century, Hiberno-Romanesque. This is a very fine example of an Irish ogham stone. The lines, as you know from the ogham, referred to letters in the Irish alphabet, and the Irish alphabet was based on nature, the trees in nature. But the interesting thing about this is it was found in the burial chamber of St. Declan. We believe that it says something like Louis the chieftain who died in a battle, and coming up the back at the end near water. It is likely, the experts in the field think, to be an ancestor, a grandfather or a great-grandfather of St. Declan. So, some people say that maybe a stone that was unfinished. Maybe it was a stone that was unsuitable. Maybe it was somebody practicing their skills. And Amagon in Irish means the foolish person. But our ancestors had a particular affinity with people with special needs, and they referred to them in Irish as Dina le Dia, or people with unconditional love. Lismore became the seat of power. Hence to this day the diocese here, the Catholic diocese is of Waterford and Lismore. It should be Ardmore, we were first, but however I've been convincing to do that. The building over here is possibly the oldest of its type in Ireland, the burial chamber of Declan. Over at the well where we were earlier, his body was brought along here and placed in the centre of town. And this again is one of the oldest buildings in Ireland, and how the experts tell us this is because of these walls, which are known as antes, and you see they're an integral part of the structure. The antes were, in actual fact, these were timber, baulks of timber that were put with the timber building that was there originally. They say around this place, Declan Pádraig na Naoise, na Déise ag Declan go brá. Literally, Declan is the St. Patrick of the Déise, and the Déise is with Declan forever.
What does the brand Ireland's Ancient East mean to a community like Ardmore? What does it do for tourism here?
Well, to me, the whole concept of Ireland's Ancient East is magically unique to Ireland. We have the Wild Atlantic Way, which gives an insight into an Atlantic coastal region, but the Ancient East, I think, is a marvellous idea. It dates back to antiquity. It brings to life the stories, the past, the activities of our ancestors, and it also brings, maybe if we try a little bit harder, that we get to understand some of the mentality and some of the activities that brought around their existence, and maybe there are things we can learn from that. Obviously every civilization in the world has its ups and downs, as we've had, and it wasn't all very pretty way back in the Dark Ages, and it wasn't all very pretty when St. Declan was around here. But when we look at things like Brehon law and how sophisticated, it would be nice to believe that we as people could pick the best of things and to use those going forward. But then again, I suppose as you look at history, human nature has an enormous ability to learn nothing.
Thank you very much, Liam Suipeil.
Ceacht go leor, go maith go héin.